everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on Cognizant GenAI Lab powered by Google. I'm Shipra, part of Cognizant Strategy and Design team, the host for the session today. And we have two key leaders with us to talk about on this topic. Corwin, who is the head of Amsterdam Digital Studio, and Hendrik Jan, partner lead from Google Cloud Solution. Welcome, Corwin. Welcome, Hendrik Jan.
Thank you.
So I'm very thrilled to talk about on this topic of GenAI Lab today, and really looking forward to hear insights from you around some of the opportunities that GenAI have, some of the real-world use cases that from your experience, and some ethical considerations about GenAI, and then most importantly about this innovative partnership between Google and Cognizant around the GenAI Lab. So let's dive into it. Okay, let me start with Hendrik Jan with you. GenAI has been there for a while now. It has gone through its own cycles of identity, through some heights, through the technology innovations. What's the significance of GenAI now?
The significance of GenAI now, so if we look at GenAI, I think it's much more than just a technology. It's really a transformational force for the market. And we recently did a research among 2,500 C-suite leaders, and they gave back that the majority, 61%, is harnessing the power of GenAI in at least one active application in their organization. So I think it's pretty significant present in the market right now.
We'd like to know your perspective.
Yeah, I can concur. We also did research beginning of this year with the Oxford University. And our orientation was jobs being exposed by GenAI, meaning what task or what jobs will actually has the potential to be made more efficient and to be replaced. And I mean, there's almost no job that will be impacted. What was very interesting, speaking of numbers, 50% of the jobs will be significantly impacted. And that underlines the potential. But it also underlines the responsibility that we have as joint companies to make sure that we turn that to a positive impact and that we secure, I would say, humans and driving tech for humans and the value out of tech.
Yeah, it's really great to know these powerful data behind the significance of GenAI now. I'm curious to know the partnership between Google and Cognizant, how it's set together to drive innovation through GenAI for businesses and for overall society in general. So let's hear from you.
Okay, thank you. So Google has been a leader for AI for more than a decade. And so we bring all the technology to the market. Next to that, we have an ecosystem of partners around AI. And Cognizant is a great example of it. Cognizant announced a year ago to invest in 70,000 people within Cognizant to be trained on Gemini. So they use Gemini for generating code in their daily activities. On top of that, Cognizant is using for their own operations Gemini, one of the keystones of our GenAI portfolio for their own operations.
Corwin, your perspective?
Yeah, Hendrik Jan is referring to investments. They're, of course, in our people and educating them and in training them. I think using Google technology, I think the combination of our capabilities is a setup that can really help customers in the journey that they're in, which is very much still about discovery. And I think when you're in discovery, you want to have access to, I would say, the latest and the greatest to understand for yourself, okay, what does this mean? What is happening around me? And what does that mean to me as an organization, as an enterprise, where it comes to transforming my business? And to my earlier point, what does this mean for the people who work for my customers and how can they be more effective in doing their work?
Yeah. You spoke about capabilities, you spoke about the customer journeys, and that is a great segue into my next question about the GenAI Lab. So Corwin, I would like to really understand from you the significance of having a physical space for driving this research and development in the GenAI space.
Yeah, a couple of things to that, Shipra. So as part of the research, but also based on our own experience in working with clients in helping their journey advance around the topic of Gen AI. What we're seeing is we've seen a hype with the introduction of ChatGPT to the public. Post that, we're seeing a little bit of, I would say, more realistic thinking about it, some concerns, some things that have happened out there. But we will only discover them if we use this phase of discovery well, and we call that experimentation. And what we see from customers is that they are working on Gen AI use cases, they're building prototypes, but they're also very much struggling to drive value out of this experimentation phase. So they're eager to go to the next phase of scaled real-world applications, and they are out there. I'm not saying that they're not there, but often close to where AI is already being used. So behind the scenes, and I'd say the interaction with the bot, with the smart bot is, I would say, advanced with, of course, the large language models and being able to communicate to the data sets and to what's being derived from the data sets. So to my point, there's still a good amount of time to experiment, but you need to use the time well in an orchestrated fashion. And what is then a better environment to do that than a concealed lab where you have the latest and the greatest available, and where you have the processes and tools to drive value out of your experimentation efforts and the money that you put in.
Hendrik, we are very much interested in continuation to what significance Corwin spoke about at the Gen AI Lab. What kind of capabilities can we expect from Google as part of this lab?
Okay, that's a very good question. So looking at what you need in the lab, I think it is a three-step approach. It starts with showing a lot of demos to inspire people about what is possible. All these demos are built on Google technology. But then it's far more, you have to bring the people in from the customer. That's the next phase where we go to the ideation. So in the ideation phase, some ideas are brought to the table, and at the end, there is code generation. The code generation is something which is done as well with Gen AI technology. After these three phases, the customer can decide, like, okay, this is something I want to bring to production. And then again, Cognizant will step in to deliver people who can help the customer to bring it to production.
That's very nice to understand the harmony between the two strong capabilities that we have here. I'm just curious, you spoke about demos, so I'm just curious to know about some real life use cases about generative AI and then how it's impacting the businesses.
Okay. I love the example built by Cognizant for a retail bank in the Benelux. And Cognizant has built multilingual digital assistants for retail banking operations. And that impacts the account opening, cards operation, and payments of their customers. And as a result, it's a 35% faster query resolution at a 30% lower call cost. So there is a business impact and the consumer benefits from it as well.
Yeah, that's very insightful. We can hear some use case from you, Corwin.
Yeah, so I think Hendrik Jan, the example that he gave is a nice example because there is, I'd say, proven efficiency gains. To my earlier point, you see that work can be done better and more efficiently and with higher accuracy. I think also where, for example, we see in fields like healthcare, where we have a huge shortage of people who support our healthcare system. We have an aging population, all these kinds of themes. They're common in many countries across the world. I think those are the domains where really we should deploy Gen AI. Yeah. And one of the examples that we have actually here in the lab is a clinical bot that supports the interaction with a patient who wants to go to a general practitioner with a problem, with a question. And I would say it's a pre-diagnosis conversation that's being facilitated, where the bot asks a couple of questions, I would say 8 to 10 questions, pretty basic questions, but already the bot can make a kind of like a pre-diagnosis report that is being sent to the general practitioner. The general practitioner reads it and then can still decide, hey, for example, I need to call the patient because there's something serious going on, or the appointment that's being made, well, I don't have to have it because I can call the patient and say, maybe I can forward you to a specialist, or I have the advice myself. So that will make that whole process, end-to-end process, much more efficient. I mean, and this is just an example of a really effective use of Gen AI to make processes more efficient at the end to serve us humans.
it's very insightful to hear the two applications in the domain of banking and healthcare. I'm sure there are many for us to discover through this GenAI lab. Talking about the use cases, and I think my next question is for you, and it also coming from my area of expertise. What's the right approach, the appropriate approach to arrive at these use cases?
Yeah, so I don't want to step into your field, Sherpa, but what Hendrik Jan said is around these three phases. So we've designed the lab in line with those phases. So the lab is not just a inspiration space, which you see often. It's not just an ideation space. It's not just a prototype and workshop. It's all of that together.
Yep.
So we believe in the flow that Hendrik Jan just explained. And crucial in that is how do you move from being inspired, seeing demos, for example, from other businesses, to actual prototyping that actually makes sense and that you can validate with users to see whether the application actually does what it does. So the crucial step in the middle there is the ideation. So that's the transformative step because deploying, for example, tools or methodologies like design thinking, I would say, supports you in a journey to see where value is. And value is always related to where it helps people doing certain processes with the rightly designed technology to help make those processes more effective, more efficient, or even more pleasant, ideally, of course.
Yeah. That sounds,
anything to add to
yes, no, I would say that's like a very, very strong and proven recipe to arrive to take from the discovery, inspiration to actual prototyping. Hendrik Jan, we would like to understand from you about the secret ingredients, which means the people, process, and the technology that we expect to bring in through this collaboration.
Yeah. So if we talk about the people from the customer perspective, we expect on the one hand people with let's say a bit of technology background, but also the actual users. It's so important to have the business involved. I think the technology itself, that's something we've been building for years. So that's something I think you can trust it as a very solid foundation. And from the process as well, Cognizant is an expert in these kind of processes. So if you bring it all together, you have the right mix to be successful. More specifically, so what we experienced when the whole GenAI tsunami took place, I would say, then we decided as well on our side to change a bit in our organization to bring business, technology, and delivery specialists together. And when they work with the customers, you will see within hours there will be results.
Yeah, that's very appropriate. And Corbin, I would like to know how we as Cognizant are bringing these multidisciplinary roles together for this GenAI lab.
Yeah. So I mean, here in Amsterdam, you're I would say at the headquarters of our what we call Benelux organization. So that's where we have the depth and breadth of people available. We've been here for many years. We're here in the building where actually we came because of an acquisition in the agencies field. We have the technology specialists on the ground. We have the consulting people who can support with the processes, and we have the physical space, and of course the support of Google to actually bring that all together. And that's where we also see the strength, and I think also the uniqueness, because so far I haven't seen it around in my experience.
Yes. This is a very unique combination that we are talking about. We have gone into right from the right recipe, the process, to right ingredients, which is the people, technology. There's one point before we move into is very critical around the GenAI, and there is a lot of skepticism around GenAI, what it can do, what it should do, what it shouldn't do. So I'm just curious to know from Hendrik Jan, from you, what are those measures that from Google's end to make it a much more responsible solution?
Yeah, I think a very relevant question. So we are convinced that with GenAI, there is a huge potential, huge untapped potential. So it's going to shift a lot in the market, but it's very important to do anything clearly, thoughtfully, and affirmatively as well. So we have defined 7 AI principles, which we share with the community, with our partners, with our customers, with our own colleagues, to make sure that we all work towards ethical deployments. And I give you one example. The first principle is to be socially beneficial, for example. So anything we deliver to the market should adhere to this principle. And there are 6 more. You can find them on our website.
Yeah, I'm going to reach out to you after this session to go through that list myself, because that's very interesting to know. I'd like to know from you, Corbin, about that.
Yeah, so we have a very similar process. Of course, we're a stock listed company, so we carry a strong responsibility towards our shareholders, towards our customers, and towards our employees. And this specific component of responsible AI has also been added into our internal trainings. So the 350,000 employees in Cognizant over the past months have been trained and have been educated around what does it mean to deploy responsible AI. And I think this is only the starting point into, I would say, creating awareness, helping our employees to deploy that on a day-to-day basis for our clients. And I think this is also where a lab can contribute, because a lab is a safe environment. You can make mistakes, things may go wrong. Let's not set it on fire, but I think you know what I mean. All with the benefit of learning in a safe environment, and by that, I'd say enhancing your own journey, because it shouldn't be Google's journey, it shouldn't be Cognizant's journey, it should be the journey of the client, the enterprise, the company, the entity. They should discover this themselves. What does GenAI mean to them?
Yeah. I'm like really warmed up to start now experimenting in the GenAI lab itself. And I know we have a time limit over here. Otherwise, I would just keep on going on and hearing these exciting things from you both. As key takeaways, are there some things which you would want to highlight for the audience from this session?
Yeah, I think you used the keyword already, so I'm going to repeat it. So first of all, generative AI is a proven way for getting ROI out of your investment. So it's all about experimenting, like you said. So my phrase would be, start using it and you will see the benefit. This GenAI lab will amaze you.
Yeah, I think in my words, I would say use the opportunity and make it your own journey. And we're here to help you.
Yep. Thank you so much. It's been very enriching. And like I said, that I'm excited to start bringing my teams, bringing my clients and different challenges to the lab and start experimenting around that. As we wrap up today's seminar, I would really like to thank you both for your time to have this conversation and very insightful and inspiring conversations. Thank you once again for the audience. And to wrap up, I'm Shipra again from the GenAI Lab live out here. We are looking forward to have you in over here to start experimenting, to start your journey over here. If you have any questions for our guests, please reach out to them on LinkedIn. And we look forward to see you over here soon. Thank you so much again.